The series has featured world-renowned authors such as James Baldwin, who I think was our first, if I'm not mistaken, Maya Angelou, Ali Jaffrey, Chinua Achebe. It is a pleasure to welcome you back to Harvard as always, China. I'm delighted that you're here, and please come forward and tell us all about your wonderful book.
So the story of love is the story of one very specific small site, but it's also the story about what's happening to land and to cemeteries, especially African American cemeteries and Native American cemeteries all over the United States. I thought I was going to be making a few phone calls, and here I am 8 years later, having written a book. We've gotten the law changed in Texas, and now we're also making this documentary film.
It's really an honor to be here to honor China Galland, the Harvard Foundation, and of course the Peace Abbey. I am really mute, actually, overwhelmed in admiration for all the work that China does for her work of scholarship and for her activism. But I wanted just to speak up for a few minutes, very briefly, about the historical resonances of the important work that China and her partners are doing. To talk a little bit about the question that was just asked, what kind of impact is this book, is this project having not only in Texas but nationwide, and then set a challenge that brings us right back here to Cambridge, right back to this campus, and to the very questions that the book asks. When China's book is being read in so many places, I had several phone calls this morning from my community collaborators in different communities in Georgia who've been reading China's book, gathering together in church basements and so forth, and pondering it. But it's really something that all of us could do in our lives, taking on this work that China has so brilliantly and bravely and courageously pioneered, to remember those who come before us as a way of forging a powerful future.
So it's really an honor to be here, China. You are an extraordinary woman. And as I said, we heard today, you're the author of several books, a professor, a social activist, building that grassroots community, organizer, a spiritual guide, peacemaker, filmmaker, wife, mother, and grandmother, and I bet I've missed some of those things. What a life, lifelong commitment to peace and to making this a better world.
The Peace Abbey Courage of Conscience Award presented to China Galland, author of Love Cemetery, Unburying the Secret History of Slaves, and the documentary Resurrecting Love, for her extraordinary commitment to social action and the empowerment of those who have faced marginalization and discrimination, presented on October 29th, 2010 at Harvard University.
One African-American friend who worked as a maid in a fishing camp around in this area told me about her grandfather who had been enslaved. And she talked about how angry she would get with white people at this fishing camp. And one day she came in and she slammed the door and she said, "White people can be so mean." She was just furious, and she was cursing them and saying, "I hate white people, I hate them." And Sam Adkins, who sat in his rocker, who'd been sold on the auction block in Jefferson, Texas when he was 7 years old, sat there reading his Bible, and he got up and he held his Bible up, she said, in his hands like this, because he'd handled it so much it was all coming apart, and the binding had come apart, and he held it up and he said, "Mabel, you got to choose love when there's reason to hate. You got to choose it. Hate dries you up and makes your heart bitter. It'll turn it to dust. You have to choose love." The reason I knew that wasn't a comment made out of accommodation by somebody who'd been enslaved was the power through which his message came into me, and how important and what a teaching that has been in my life. Every spiritual leader says it, the New Testament says it, but somehow hearing it via Mabel from Sam Adkins, who certainly lived a life where he had a lot of opportunities to hate, I could tell he really had transcended that and been able to choose love. And I learned, and he taught me, gone that he is, he's the sort of spiritual presence in the book, that no matter what the difficulty, love isn't only a feeling, it's also a choice. and that we can choose that.